Stop it! I know what are you going to do. You are going to buy a new suspension kit for your motocross bike. Before to do, you should to know what you can do with your stock suspension. Because the modern motorcycle have a very high level of products, including the fork or the shock absorber. There are many chances to set up for your needs, for your personal needs. You will have time to buy a new fork or to spend crazy money for a shock absorber. But first, you have to understand your limit and the limit of the suspension to get a better and better feeling in riding. So in case you move to something in aftermarket, you have a clear idea about what you need and what are you looking for. On a modern motorcycle, you will find very special suspension. You can adjust the compression and rebound, and this is for the front fork and for the shock absorber. The important point is to set up the bike on your riding style, on your weight, because consider that normally motorcycles are set up for a rider of about 80 kilos. And there is a range where you can ride with this type of setup. If you are heavy or you are very aggressive, probably you need harder spring, or in case to adjust the oil level. Okay, first we speak about the front fork. In the front fork there are three elements: the coil, the oil, and the air inside. Yes, because you have air inside your fork. As you can see, there is these little screws that you can open to give the right pressure to your front fork, because the front fork works with zero pressure. This because have to work only through the oil, because during the use of the fork, through the seal enter some air that hour after hour make some high pressure inside and change completely the work of your fork and make it more stiffer, and you will have problem with your arm. A good habit is to, after at each time you enter in the track, when you come back, you open the screw and you give the chance to air to go out and make your fork, you give the chance to the fork to work in the right way. The second element is the coil. The coil makes the setup of the bike and works first on your weight. Because normally the motorcycle is made for the standard motorcycle, it's made for a rider from around 75 kilo to 85 kilo, completely dressed with helmet, boots and everything. If you are heavy, it's better if you move with a one step with a harder spring, because differently you will have too much soft work of your fork, and in any case it's strange, but a too soft fork give you problem with the arm like a hard one. Choose the right spring, it's very important, because the right spring gives a chance to you to be fast, be safety, especially when you ride in a very hard condition, like in the sand, or when the tracks there are many big holes. And if you are too soft, this will give you a lot of problem in your arm, but also in your riding, because you cannot be fast enough. The last element is the oil. The oil is probably the most important and the most adjustable element in the fork, because you can adjust in two ways. The first one through the register that you have outside from the fork. In the top here, in this point, the best way to understand at which level you are is to click by click close all the register, and after that go back click by click. With the standard suspension, it's minimum you have to move by 5 click by 5 click, because less you cannot have a big difference, because how are made the fork, just one click don't make big changes. In the bottom we have the rebound register, and this take under control the rebound of the fork. And this is very important also when you change your spring, because another spring makes the rebound much more faster, and you have to close through the register. If during your use this is not enough, you can adjust inside, but here you need much more skill, or you have to go to a mechanic to do that, because you can change the setup of the register inside the fork. In case we can see in another video in the detail how are made and how we can adjust the front fork in by dismounting everything. About the oil, it's very important also the oil level, because the oil level take under control the bottom out. When you arrive from a big jump, if the level is too low, or in case your spring is too soft, you will have like something, a bottom out, but it's very unhealthy for your fork, because you feel really a mechanical tack, something like that. This you have to take under control. You can put a very small O-ring on the fork to see how much your fork travels. Can be that you arrive to the bottom out 1 or 2 eyes per lap, but not more. If you have more time, you have this feeling, it's better you increase a little the level of the oil. So basically, to make a basic setup of the fork, we need just a screwdriver, nothing more. So it's very simple. You need only to try to understand and to find the limit of your standard fork. For the shock absorber, it's approximately the same. We have the spring, we have the compression register, we have the rebound register. Basically, in the shock absorber, we have an extra register that is high and low speed for compression. As you can see, you adjust the high speed through the nut in this point, and the slow speed through the screw inside the nut. Now we will see how to act. For the high speed, as you can see, you have a sign, and you have to count how many turns it makes during your adjustment. So basically, when it's all closed, it's the hardest solution that you can have. All open, obviously, is a much more softer. With the low speed, it's the same. You have the click like for the fork, it's exactly the same. With the screwdriver, you close everything, you count the click. Also in this case, like for the fork, for the standard shock absorber, you have to count approximately 5 clicks by 5 clicks. Now we move to the rebound. Rebound is in the bottom of the shock absorber. It's sometimes a little tricky to arrive to adjust because there are the linkage, but you can, with a correct screwdriver, you can arrive to adjust it. As for the fork, rebound in the shock absorber is very important because it gives a chance to you to enter in the whoops or in the jump in the safety way, because after we will see what happens if you are not in the correct setup of the bike. We leave for left the spring, because the spring with the shock absorber there is another adjustment that we can do, As for the front fork, the spring works on your weight first, but also it works with the traction, because in the back it's the point when you open the wide that you bring the power of the ground. So the correct setup is very, very important. So basically now we have a view of what we need and what we have on your motorcycle. So basically we understood that the first activity we have to do is to dress the motorcycle on us by our weight, our riding style, how much we are fast, and also from in which condition is the track. Now we will see how the correct setup or the wrong setup can affect our riding in terms of safety, but also about speed, because we are speaking also about that. So if we speak about front suspension, so the front fork, I put to you two extreme cases, so too soft and too hard. If your fork is too soft, when you arrive in braking area, you will be really in trouble, because you have the feeling that your handlebar is something like this, you know, you are like in the sea, so something like that. So in a storm, exactly, you have that feeling. But also when you arrive in the jump, if it's too soft, you arrive to the bottom of the travel of the fork, and this it's very dangerous, and even don't give you the chance to jump long, because it's like a brake, something like that. On the other hand, if it's too hard, when you arrive in the whoops or in a small hole, you have the feeling of a very, very deep shattering on the front. So they will give you problem with the arm and basically in your style and in your riding. For the shock absorber, in the same way, we will see if it's too soft or if it's too hard. If it's too soft, you have for sure more traction, because a more softer shock absorber donate you more traction, but you will have the feeling that you are like on a chopper, an Harley Davidson when you ride, and you cannot be fast in any case, because you have the fork that is open in this way, and when you try to enter in cornering, it is very difficult. Also, when you arrive in a big jump, if you arrive like for the fork, if it's too soft, you arrive to the end of the travel, and this give you the feeling that it's like everything not under control, and you don't have the chance to jump long. If it's too hard, it's the same. You don't have traction. So especially this happen when you arrive in very hard park condition, and it's really important to find the setup, because you don't really have the traction and you cannot open the wide, and obviously you are not fast. Another important thing is the sag, as I told you, because the sag is something like the neutral travel of the shock absorber. But this is what, when you arrive, especially in braking, it's something that gives you the chance to have the rear wheel in line. Because if we don't have neutral, when you arrive to braking and you bring the weight from the rear to the front, it's something, it starts to jump in this way, and you lose the control of the motorcycle. A correct side, this can adjustable, so but normally there are for each motorcycle have a normal level, and give you more traction, more control in braking. So take care about that. Have to be the first things that you check in your motorcycle when you buy a new one. So basically now we have opened a big window on the suspension world. So there is a lot to say. In another video, if you want, we can see a little more deep inside the front fork and the shock absorber, how they made, and how we can adjust even we are not a super mechanic. So we can check, we can adjust in some easy way with very simple activity. Now it's time to try, and let me know your final setup. Hasta luego, compañeros.